Hey guys, Mr. Champion here, and we're starting our third unit on the American Revolution. We're going to start with looking at the crises that is brewing in the colonies. In your notes, you have your essential question: what impact did the French and Indian War have on colonial America? In order to answer this question, you guys should be able to do these four things: explain why war began in the mid 1700s in North America, describe how the British experienced early defeats in war, identify how the tide turned for the British, and then lastly, explain how the British eventually defeated the French and gaining extra territory in the North American continent. Remember, if you have any questions, write down your questions in your notes section of your notes, question section of your notes, and also when we're finished, be sure to complete your summary of what we've just discussed or you've just learned. Let's take a look at European rivalry in North America. All right, throughout Europe, there's major rivalry taking place. You have the different European empires seeking ability to trade throughout the world, and so they're trying to set up trade posts throughout the world. And North America is a continent that is rich in resources, and many European powers want to find new land and opportunities in North America. In addition, you see France being the #1 competitor to the French. If you look here in green, you can see the French the territory. In red, you also see the English territory. And kind of the middle area, you see this is the disputed territory between the French and the English. And this is the territory that's going to kind of spark this French and Indian War. France is laying claim to the St. Lawrence River, so you see up in this particular area, the St. Lawrence River, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So all of this area here is pretty disputed territory. And so both the English and the French are seeking to lay claim to that particular area. The conflict area is known as the Ohio River Valley area. The Appalachian Mountains is kind of a dividing point. And once the colonists, as you would imagine, as they go out into the American frontier, as they move beyond their current borders out into the Ohio River Valley area, past the Appalachians, they encounter not only Native Americans, but they encounter the French. And this continues to start conflict. One of the reasons why the French and the British want to lay claims is because of the river systems that run through here. Here you see the Mississippi River, which again, because the French territory is pretty much landlocked, they desire to be able to control the Mississippi as well as the Ohio River in order to reach the Gulf and the Caribbean, and then consequently to the Atlantic, and then on through to Europe. So this area is a great linking point, and will definitely be a boost to each other's trading abilities. The Native Americans, they find themselves in a pickle. They have to decide what side they will choose to fight on. You have the Algonquin and the Huron tribes. They side with the French, and mainly because that's the territory in which the French were occupying. So they chose to do that. And then along the western border of the American colonies, you have the Iroquois Nation, which is made up of several different Native American tribes. And so we have the French and Indian War starting to begin. Before the major outbreak of war, there are three different times the skirmishes broke out between France and Great Britain between 1689 and 1748. However, in 1754, circle that important date, fighting broke out for the fourth time. And again, this led to war over several years for that disputed Ohio River Valley area. The English settlers called this conflict the French and Indian War because it pitted them against France and its Native American allies. Some tribes of which they were working along with or trying to keep peace with. Others they had already had interactions with and chose to fight, as I said on the last slide, alongside them. George Washington comes on the scene during the French and Indian War. He's tasked with helping to set up Fort Necessity. The French main fort was Fort Duquesne, and in order to gain a foothold in the Ohio River Valley area, moving toward what we know as Canada or Greater French Territory, Fort Duquesne was a key part. Washington set up Fort Necessity, but he experienced defeat in establishing and defending this fort. Yet this was a great experience for him, and it allowed for him to come under the tutelage of one of Britain's great generals, and to learn a lot from him. And so again, this would lead to further success during the revolution, and as he led our country as our first president. During this time period, many of the delegates, one in particular, Benjamin Franklin, kind of led the discussions for the colonists to try to come together. Again, they were separate entities, their own economies, their own forms of government. And so you had several delegates come together in Albany, New York, to try and bring the colonies together as one unique union. This failed. Again, many of the colonists did not want to give up their rights, and so this plan of union failed. However, it did get the discussions for the colonists and the colonial leaders to talk about coming together. And right now is to fight against the French, but later you're going to see that this is kind of a starting point for them to start to evaluate and view how the British are treating them. So let's move on to some of the early defeats of the British in the French and Indian War. General Edward Braddock, he led the first attack, and he again took young Washington along with him to attack Fort Duquesne. Later on, you'll have a set of videos on Moodle that you can kind of get a greater insight to this. But his attack was not successful. The French got word of it, and the Native American tribes that were in the area set out and they surprise attack. So the General Braddock and the British forces were not ready for that, and they found themselves trapped, cornered. They find themselves surrounded, and they took on many casualties. General Braddock was shot in the process during this particular attack and fight. And so over the next couple of years, the British would encounter many defeats, and so it didn't look well for the British in terms of trying to maintain and even gain further territory within North America. And here's just kind of a visual of what took place. You can see a lot of the red coats visible, and a lot of the Native Americans and the French Canadians are surrounding them. The tide actually turns for the British. Okay, under the leadership of William Pitt, now the British governor over the British government and Parliament, he decides to focus his full attention on North America, and so he rallies his troops, sending more people to fight, and he also inquires of of Jeffrey Amherst as his leader to take on his task. And so they set out not initially on Fort Duquesne, but they seek to capture Louisburg. This is one of the most important forts in Canada in terms of its strategic location of supplies and in the capital city of Quebec. And so they're able to capture Louisburg. They exile many of the French-speaking Canadians there, and they would later go to New Orleans. And so as a lot of the troops diverted from protecting Fort Duquesne to Louisburg, the British are able to go in and capture Fort Duquesne. Later it's named Fort Pitt, and it becomes the city of Pittsburgh for you Steeler fans. The fall of New France. Okay, so now we have the French on their heels, and we have the British continue to progress and move forward. They capture Fort Duquesne, and now they move on to the capital city of Quebec. Pitt sends General James Wolfe to take on this task of capturing the capital city. The city is located on a steep cliff called the Plains of Abraham, which strategically allows it to be to protect itself, to be fortified, to see its enemies as they approach. So it's not an easy task for the British to capture Quebec, the capital city of Quebec. Marquis de Montcalm, he is tasked with protecting Quebec. And so Wolfe, he decides, and again, I've posted a few videos to get you a greater idea visually as to what took place during this battle. Wolfe's bold plan is to climb up the cliff, and so he is able to maneuver his troops, and they are able to successfully take over the capital city of Quebec. In this process, Montcalm is killed, Wolfe is killed, and Montcalm is killed as well. And the British are now in control of most of the forts in the areas that the French have claimed. And so consequently, the fall of Quebec seals the fate of the French. The Treaty of Paris is signed, and in this treaty, the British gain Canada and many of the French lands east of the Mississippi River, and you'll be able to see that as I put up a map in a few slides. In addition to that, the French are able to keep a couple of islands and also New Orleans as their own as a part of the Treaty of Paris. Also, the British gained Florida from the Spanish in here. And again, you kind of learned and talked about that in the 4th grade. If you look at these two maps, you can kind of see prior to the French and Indian War, this was the British territory owned by the colonists. France controlled most of this area here in the disputed area, the Ohio River Valley. The map to the left over here, you can see now the British territory has increased tremendously, and the British Empire is now in control of over half of the continent of North America. Remember, fill in your summary. If you have any questions, write those down, and we can discuss those in class. Thanks, guys.